Random J Productions presents the Palm Summer League. Today, we are here for our first ever PSL race, the Coca-Cola Summer Kickoff here at the Coca-Cola Superspeedway. And as you can see, all 32 drivers are all lined up on pit road, ready for what should be a chaotic and historic race. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Josh, your commentator for today's race, and welcome to a brand new summer series that may be shorter, but still should be an exciting one nevertheless. And what better way to kick it all off on this sunny Memorial Day Monday on this fast and massive super speedway. During preseason thunder at both Talladega and Atlanta, one manufacturer that constantly put up fast times was Dodge, and the team owners of two of the biggest Dodge teams are both on the front row, Bradley Reed of Railfan Motorsports and Nathan Stapleton of NS Racing, which is fitting since both teams share a technical alliance. Speaking of fast Dodges during preseason thunder, Brendan Bill put up top 10 times at both testing sessions and is looking to be an early favorite for the championship. And lastly, you can never count out reigning All-Summer Series champion Ryan Wilson. Despite starting 28th today, he has plenty of experience of being consistent here in these shorter length series. But before all these questions get answered, let's first take a look at our first ever Palm Summer League starting lineup. So as previously mentioned, we have an all-Dodge front row with Bradley Reed in the 6 and Exzel technical teammate Nathan Stapleton in the 97. Row 2, Owen Miles in the 25, the highest Ford to qualify, and Exzel the highest Toyota to qualify, Daniel Voiles in the 76. Row 3, the highest Chevy to qualify, Jason Albert in the 80, and Patrick Miller in the 33. Row 4, Lipsy in his familiar number 9, and Exzel the reigning champion from a previous miniseries HWRL, Keyshawn Richardson in the 24. Row 5, GSS runner-up Matthew Burnett, and Exzel Jordan Caldwell in the 82. Row 6, Jordan Forbes in the 61, and 2021 GSS champion Hodom in the 88 car. Row 7, Brendan Beal in the 37, and the 79 of Jose Angel. Row 8, Nick Sand in the 40, and Johnny Hernandez once again in the 46. Row 9, Random J, and Kellen Baker in the 20. Row 10, Brendan Carruthers in the 19, and Roberto Crown in the 21. Row 11, Joe T in the 99, and Jordan Stout in the 11, who of course previously won our last GSS season opener. Row 12, Trey Smith in the 4, and Daniel Rice in the 43. Row 13, Dylan Matthews and Chris Murray in 87. Row 14, Alex Mullen in the 1, and reigning GSS champion Ryan Wilson. Row 15, Caleb Rose and Dan Mattiello. Row 16, Mopar SRT in the 41, and Kyle Salmon in the 71. And finally, row number 17, it's Ross McTrain in the number 91. Taking a look at the track info here for today's race, we're going to go 26 laps on this massive 3-mile-long super speedway with 1-mile-long straightaways on each side of the track, each banked 10 degrees. However, as for the turns, they are very, very tight at this place, with each turn having 36 degrees worth of banking. So really, if you want to think about it, this track is essentially a big Martinsville with banking similar to M&M Superspeedway, which we raced in the HWRL. And finally, of course, as for the weather here today in Concord, Massachusetts, 78 degrees Fahrenheit with 8 miles per hour towards the southwest. And now it's time for a pre-race ceremony, starting with our national anthem. And now, for the first time in Palm Summer League history, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Now, before we take the green flag, I wanted to dial up an owner-driver to get an idea of what type of planning is required for this type of racing. So, we're going to talk to the number 19 of Brittany Carruthers, who's ironically starting at 19th today. Hey Brado, this is Josh from the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey man, I know you've had a lot of experience at these super speedways. In fact, you have 2 super speedway wins in the former Golf Summer Series. What is the game plan for you and your team today?
Stay in the front. We really want to stay in the front, make sure we're all sticking together, single file, making sure that we don't get spread out too much. And we stay in the front, I think we have a better chance of avoiding the big one, staying out of trouble.
And speaking of the big one more thing I want to ask. As a team owner, you own 3 cars, you own the 91, your course, your 19, and the number 82. How do you and your teammates plan to keep your cars clean from these races that usually get pretty chaotic more often than not?
Working as a team, though, especially if you have multiple cars in your facility, you want to make sure that they all come home in one piece.
All right, man. Good luck today. Have some fun, and have a good race.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, before we get started, I want to say one more thing. I want to say thank you to everyone who has supported the Palm Summer League during its development. Everyone from the admins for helping me planning out this series, all of our painters, all of y'all joining, and of course you, the viewer, watching our preseason thunder and this very race. But without further ado, it's finally time to get things started. As the pace truck heads down pit road, the fans here at Coca-Cola are all on their feet, ready to see the beginning of a brand new summer series. As here we go, green flags in the air, Ream and Stapleton lead the field to begin the Coca-Cola Summer Kickoff. And already down this long straightaway, Lipsy's already going 3 wide alongside Random J towards the middle of the pack. As into turn number 1, Ream and Miles move down to the inside alongside Daniel Voiles in the 76 as he leaves Stapleton out to dry in the middle. Down this long back straightaway, here goes Miles looking to the inside of Bradley for the lead. As him and Voiles will force Bradley and Stapleton to the outside. As you saw there, Jordan Forrest briefly in the picture, trying to start a 3rd line on the inside as you go into turn number 3. Into turns 3 and 4, Miles and Voiles will move down to the inside as Ream and Stapleton stay stuck in the middle. You saw there Jason Albert, Patrick Miller, and Hoodlum were trying to start a 3rd line off turn number 4 before everyone moves up to the outside, including Miles and Voiles, with Ream and Stapleton to follow as Lipsy's all by himself in the middle as they're 3 wide already coming to complete lap number 1. It looks like that time by, it was Owen Miles who led the first ever Palm Summer League lap as him and Voiles are still on the outside. As here's Jordan Forrest once again on the inside going into turn number 1 as Miles will come down the block to 61 and 37. Now, of course, Miles has some experience winning at these Super Speedway events in the past, as he won one of our last GSS Super Speedway events at Orlando last year, as here's Forrest with the inside of Miles down the back straight away. And similar to what Miles did to Bradley Ream the lap before, Forrest will force Miles to the outside going into turn number 3, as Forrest has Random J and Crudders behind him to help. Now, of course, Random as well as Voiles are just some of the handful of Toyotas we have on the field, while Forrest and Crudders are just one of the many Dodges we have in the field this year, as Dodge has the most drivers out of all of our 5 manufacturers here in the Palm Summer League, as Forrest will lead lap number 2. While in the middle, Random in the 53 has almost no help at all, as Albert is several car lengths back. And even though we haven't even completed 3 full laps in this race yet, we were already 3 wide for the lead going into turn number 1 there briefly, as Forbes tried to block Crudders on the inside. Both help from his teammate Jordan Caldwell on the inside. That will help give Crudders a slight advantage off turn number 2 this time by. Now, of course, Crudders himself mentions during the pre-race that working for teammates is very, very important in these type of races. But as soon as I say that, here comes Caldwell forcing Crudders to the outside, with Trey Smith and Daniel Rice fast approaching on the inside. And continuing down the back straight, we are once again 3 wide for the lead, with Crudders on the outside, Caldwell in the middle, and Smith on the inside. Also creeping inside this picture is the 99 of Joe T, the 1 of Alex Mullen, as well as the 59 of Caleb Rose. Off turn number 4, Caldwell's going to move to the outside in front of his teammate, while Smith's going to move to the middle as we're once again 3 wide for the lead, coming to lap number 4, with Caldwell having the slight advantage over the 4 and 43. And once again, we are 3 wide for the lead into turn number 1, with Caldwell right between Carruthers and Smith, before settling with the middle line, as he's side by side of Rice for the lead into turn number 2. Both Rice being on the inside as well as having additional help with Rose and Mullen, who will take the lead away from the 82 before coming up to block the 82 off turn number 2. And that's going to give the goal an opportunity for Mullen and Rose as we're once again 3 wide down the back straightaway with the 41 of Mopar all over the back bumper of Rose. And as you can see, the top 3 cars on the inside lane are all Dodges, as Rose, Mopar, and Mattiello are all part of the aforementioned technical alliance with Railfan Motorsports and NS Racing. Off of 4, both Rose and Mopar move to the outside to block Alex Mullen, as Mattiello moves to the middle in front of Trey Smith, leaving Kyle Salmon the lead car on the inside, but it's still going to be enough for Caleb Rose to lead lap number 4. On board of Rose going into turn number 1 this time by, as Mopar looks to the inside of the 59, as they're going to be side by side for the lead. And as you can see, the field behind him is still 3 by 3, with Mullen moving to the middle, as Salmon will come to pick up Mopar, coming off turn number 2 this time by. But down the back story, Mopar move up to the outside in front of his fellow Dodge, as Salmon's going to be in the middle all by himself, leaving the door open for Ross McRoll with help from Chris Murray, making it 3 wide for the lead once again. Meanwhile, the Random J Series veterans of Ryan Wilson and Jordan Stout also go to the inside to help Murray and McTrain, as Salmon into turn number 3 will get help from Mattiello in the middle. But once again, despite all the efforts of the outside and middle, the inside and led by McTrain and Murray will rocket to the lead here at Coca-Cola as they both move to the outside, as Murray's going to be 3 wide for second, with McTrain leading lap number 5. In the 1, both Murray and McTrain are still hooked together before Murray looks to the inside and McTrain into turn number 1 as they're going to be side by side for the lead. And despite Murray having a whole car length in between him and Jordan Stout, he is going to take the lead away from McTrain off turn number 2 as him and Salvin move up to the outside. Down the back straight, it looks like Murray will join McTrain and Salmon on the outside, as here comes the middle led by Jordan Stout and Roberto Crown, as the inside also is fast approaching, with Matthews and Hernandez leading the way before Stout and Crown come to block into turn number 3. Murray and McTrain move back to the middle into turn number 4, as off of 4, Stout's going to move to the outside to block Murray, as him and Crown will be side by side for the lead before Matthews makes it 3 wide once again, coming to lap number 7. And you saw there, because of that, Crown was briefly left stranded in the middle until the fellow Chevy of Nixon came to pick him up, as the Toyotas of Matthews and Stout are side by side through turns 1 and 2 for the lead, with Stout now moving to the middle in front of Crown. Off 2, both Matthews and Stout are going to move to the outside in front of Crown, as there's Johnny Hernandez side by side for the lead down the back straightaway, with Matt Fournette now making it 3 wide for the lead once again. If I had $1 every time these drivers went 3 wide for the lead, I'd probably have enough to buy a meal at McDonald's or something, as these constant and exciting 3 wides for the lead is not only the beginning of this race, but also for the Palm Summer League in general. Coming off turn number 4 this time by, the GSS runner-up of Matthew Burnett, alongside newcomer Jose Angel in the 79, move up to the outside. As we come to lap number 8 this time by, it's going to be Burnett who leads. While Lipsy in that 9 car who's behind the 2 leaders is currently 3 wide in the middle. On board of Lipsy in the 1 as Angel is side by side with Burnett for the lead, as Lipsy can lose a lot of ground on the outside, as there's the 97 and 6 coming up on the inside. Off of 2, Angel clears Burnett for the lead, as he's not going to be side by side with the Dodges of Stapleton and Ream, as we are once again 3 wide down the back straightaway. Also coming up on the inside is that 25 of Miles once again, as well as the Era Atlanta Toyotas of Keisha Harrison and Random J, as you continue to turn 3 and 4 once again. Into 3, this pack is once again 3 by 3. Every single person in this pack is 3 wide with some driver, as Ream gets a great run into turn number 4. Off of 4, down the front, both Miles and Ream move up to the outside the block Stapleton, as that opens the door for the Toyotas, as Richardson moves to the middle with Random down the lead car on the inside, coming to lap number 9 with Ream leading this time by. Continuing down the front, both Miles and Ream are still together on the outside before Miles looks at the inside of Bradley into turn number 1, as we're once again side by side with Miles coming down in front of Random. Subsequently, because of that, Ream's going to move to the middle in front of Stapleton, as those two drivers have been together for pretty much this entire race. But once again, down the back straightaway, we're 3 wide for the lead, as Random's all by himself in the middle, so Stapleton moves down behind the 53. Speaking of Dodge, one of the other Dodges up here is that 37 of Brendan Beal, as there's help from fellow Dodge, the 61 of Jordan Forbes, as the field once again goes into turn number 3, as Miles moves down in the middle in front of Random. Come to complete lap number 9 as Beal moves to the outside in front of Miles, as Forbes moves to the middle in front of Joe T, leaving Carruthers and Baker to 2 lead cars on the inside, as Beal barely leads that time by. Into turn number 1, we are 4 wide behind the leaders as Baker squeezes Stapleton and Random to the outside of the track. And now because of that, Random's going to get forced way up high on the outside as he's going to lose a lot of ground in that 53. As Random has absolutely no help at all as he's still 4 wide off too. And as a driver, that is probably one of the worst things that can happen to you at a super speedway, as Random went from being inside the top 5 to possibly being outside the top 20, as the Dodges of Forbes, Carruthers, and Caldwell are 3 wide, continuing down the back straightaway. As Random is still 4 wide towards the middle of the pack, as there's contact between Crown and Lipsy as well as Random as they go spinning into turn number 3. Lipsy, Dan Matteo, Matt from Minnesota, Lipsy's on his roof. As that 9 car will go flipping multiple times down the banking and down to the apron as it comes to rest on top of Crown's car as a caution will come out for the first time here in the PSL. And there you can see the damage on the 53 of Random being forced up to the outside was probably the worst thing to have happen to him, as well as the damage on the 44 of Matthew Brunette, as that car has heavy front-end damage. Cars also have damage include the 87 of Chris Murray, the 46 of Johnny Hernandez, the 17 of Dan Mattiello, as well as I believe the 49 of Dylan Matthews, and the 40 of Nick Sant. As you ordered that time by was the 82 of Jordan Caldwell, followed by Alex Mullen in the 1, and the 43 of Daniel Rice. But anyways, let's take a look at the instant replay to see what caused our first ever caution here in the Palm Summer League. So all just started going into turn number 1. Watch that black number 20 car, Calvin Baker, going 4 wide alongside Brandon Carruthers as he forces the 97 of Stapleton, as well as the 53 of Random J up the track on the outside. So both Random and Staple hold their lines, but in the 1, Baker just forces the issue. Nero makes contact with Jordan Caldwell there, as even though both Baker and Stapleton managed to get fall back in with the rest of the pack, Random loses a lot of ground as he goes 4 wide of many different drivers here before eventually settling into tucking right in front of Matthew Burnett down the back straightaway. But despite that, Random still remains 4 wide, as next to him, both the 9 of Lipsy and the 21 of Roberto Crown make contact multiple times, sending Random into the wall, with Crown making contact with Voiles, getting into Lipsy, with Lipsy getting into Random. It's just a massive chain reaction there, with a lot of drivers on absolutely nowhere to go, including Matthew Burnett, as he sends Lipsy flipping down across the track and onto the apron, almost right on top of Crown's car. Take all this in slow motion. So again, Crown makes contact with Voiles, with Crown coming back up onto Lipsy, with Lipsy coming up to Random, with everyone behind Random and Lipsy having absolutely nowhere to go, including Nick Sant, the aforementioned Matthew Burnett, and Mattiel also having nowhere to go as well. As you see the guys on the inside doing a good job of avoiding this mess, such as Trey Smith, Mopar, Ross McTrain, and Kyle Salmon, as Matthew Burnett, as I said, was that car who sent Lipsy on his roof, tumbling down the turn, tumbling down this very steep turn. Again, this turn, these bankings here at Coca-Cola are 36 degrees, so it was a pretty wild tumble, I imagine, for Lipsy, until he eventually lands sort of around the top of Crown's car on the apron. And speaking of which, let's go on board of Roberto Crown here. So there's that initial contact with Lipsy, which sends Crown into the 76 and back in front of Lipsy, and eventually Crown comes up in front of Lipsy, sending him spinning. And again, here comes an unexpected visitor of Lipsy landing right on top of Crown's car as the both of them will come to rest on the apron. On board with Matthew Burnett. So Burnett, basically had absolutely nowhere to go. So it looked like he had opening here briefly, but then comes Lipsy back onto the track right in front of him. There was basically nothing he could have done there as that 44 car has heavy front end damage. On board of Jason Albert. So the contact with Crown, Lipsy, and Boyles happened right in front of him as Albert just barely missed that. But a good miss for Albert, making his first channel start since last year's GSS race at Orlando. But anyways, we are under caution for the first time ever here in the Palm Summer League, as we were back for you guys after this. Welcome back to the Coca-Cola Summer Kickoff here at the Coca-Cola Superspeedway for the brand new Palm Summer League. We're about to go green after a sizable wreck in turn number 3 that involved many big-name drivers, including the 17 of Dan Matt T. Yellow, the 40 of Nick Sant, the 53 of Random J, and the 44 of Matthew Burnett, among others. Currently looks like 4 cars have retired from this race, including the 9 of Lipsy, Roberto Crown in the 21, the aforementioned 44 of Matthew Burnett, and the 53 of Random J. Anyways, currently your top 5 so far is the 82 of Jordan Caldwell, followed by the 1 of Alex Mullen, the 43 of Daniel Rice Jr., the 19 of Brendan Carruthers, and the 2021 Summer Series champion of Hoodlum in the 88 car. As for the drivers also in this top 10, Carol Bros in the 59s in 6th, the 99 of Joe T is in 7th, Jordan Flores is in 8th, Patrick Miller is in 9th, and to run off the rest of the top 10 so far, the 20 of Calvin Baker. As here we go, pace truck is back down pit road as the field continues to inch closer to the start finish line as we're back under green here in Coca-Cola. And I say 2 cars to definitely watch here in this restart is that 43 of Rice and an 88 of Hoodlum as the both Hernandez Racing teammates as they can work together and possibly make something happen, especially in that coveted inside lane. You saw during the turn number 1, Angel's going 3 wide on Richardson and Beal, as that's probably going to cause Beal to lose a lot of track position on the outside as we come off turn number 2 here. Down the back shoulder, Ricardo moves to the outside in front of Mullen, potentially leaving the door open for the aforementioned Hernandez drivers of Rice and Hoodlum as they're currently in the middle in front of Joe T as we go into turn number 3 as those 3 drivers, Caldwell, Rice, and Hoodlum, move to the inside. Now, to be honest, I'm kind of surprised neither Rice or Hoodlum forced Caldwell to the outside of the track, but instead have to settle with Caldwell being right in front of the 43 and 88 as off of turn number 4 is another chance for the Hernandez cars as Rice goes with Caldwell on the outside while Hoodlum goes in the middle in front of Joe T, moving Patrick Miller down the lead car on the inside to come to lap number 16. Caldwell led that time by, but here comes Hoodlum with a strong run on the inside into turn number 1 before Caldwell comes to block. And now that's going to leave Daniel Rice out to dry in the middle, as well as RC and Forbes, as they're going to lose a lot of ground on the outside lane, much like Beal and Random before. Off for turn number 2, speaking of the outside lane, the top 3 drivers, Caldwell, Hoodlum, and Joe T, move to the outside, as now here comes Hoodlum looking to the inside for the lead on Caldwell. We now chose the middle of the pack. We're once again 4 wide as Rose makes contact with Richardson, who makes contact with McTrain into turn number 3. And thankfully, unlike last time around, this did not cause a wreck as all 4 of those drivers remain going and are still 4 wide into turn number 4. Meanwhile, off turn number 4 is going to be Hoodlum, who leaves Miller out to dry in the middle, as that 88 car is going to move back to the outside in front of Caldwell, as Hoodlum will now be a leader, coming to lap number 17 this time by. And as the field is once again 3 wide behind the leader, we have a replay of what happened during the last lap of Ross McTrain and Keyshawn Richardson. So similar to what happened with Random, Voiles, Crown, and Lipsy, this time it was Mullen who got into the 59, which in return sent Rose into Richardson, and finally Richardson into McTrain, causing the 24-91 to make contact into turn number 3. Meanwhile, off turn number 2, Hoodlum still maintains the lead over the 41 of Mopar and the 71 of Kyle Salmon before both of them look to the inside of Hoodlum, as they're going to force the 88 car to the outside as they're once again 3 wide for the lead as McTrain and Miller make an aggressive dive to the middle. But as soon as I say that, into turn number 3, Miller instead opts to go to the inside right behind Salmon and in front of Richardson, as that will leave Hoodlum trapped in that treacherous outside lane before Caldwell quickly comes to help him out. Off for turn number 4, McTrain and Mopar move to the outside alongside Kyle Salmon, with Miller staying in the middle as we're 3 wide once again for the lead, coming back to the stripe with Salmon leading lap number 17. Into turn number 1, here comes a huge run from Keyshawn and Albert on the inside, as that's going to be Salmon no choice but to settle off the middle line, as he's going to be side by side with Keyshawn for the lead, but it's been no match with a strong run both him and Albert are getting off turn number 2. But down the back shoulder, Rich is going to move right in front of the 71 on the outside, as him and Albert this time are side by side for the lead. It's definitely kind of weird to see a Toyota helping out a Chevy and a Chevy helping out a Toyota as this battle for the lead continues as we're on board with Albert into turn number 3. And then inside, as we've seen all day here, continues to prevail, especially going into these corners as both Albert and Matthews get around Richardson with ease. Coming back down to the front stretch, it's going to be Albert who moves to the outside in front of the 24, while Matthews will settle off the middle in front of the fellow Toyota Jordan Stout, as that's going to leave Trey Smith and Daniel Boyles as the 2 lead cars on the inside coming to lap number 19. Continuing down this long front stretch, the momentum for the inside continues out. Richardson looks to the inside of Albert into turn number 1 as he's going to force the Indy car to the outside. And as we're once again 3 wide for the lead here in Coca-Cola, it's time to crank it up for the first time here in the Palm Summer League. It's lap number 22 of 26, only 5 laps to go here in the Coca-Cola Summer Kickoff as we're once again 3 wide for the lead into turn number 1. And if you're in the middle of the back half of the pack right now, it is go time. It's time to go. There is not much time left to make a move as we're on board with Jose Angel off turn number 2. As right now, Angel's right in between the two Jordans, so Jordan Caldwell and Jordan Stout continuing down the back straightaway as there's Angel looking to the inside of Caldwell for the lead. And I would say this is definitely very risky for Angel as he has absolutely no help in the inside as he remains side by side with Caldwell into turns 3 and 4. As the pack continues to be 3 deep behind the leaders as Stout has almost no help at all in the 11th. And amazingly, despite having almost no help off turn number 4, Angel's going to get around Caldwell for the lead as we come to lap number 23 of 26. Only 4 laps to go as Angel moves to the outside in front of Caldwell. Here comes Jotin Mopar once again, making it 3 wide for the lead into turn number 1 for probably the trolley of time here today. And it looks like this time behind Mopar in the 41, there was Hold'em in the 88 car as well as Kyle Salmon in the 71, as well as one of Hold'em's teammates, Daniel Rice Jr. in the 43. And it looks like coming down the back straightaway, Hold'em with Salmon to follow Mopar on the outside before Hold'em ditches Mopar on the outside as he'll move to the middle in front of Joe T. While Daniel Rice remains on the inside with Miller right behind the help going into turn number 3 as Hold'em remains side by side with Mopar. In the 3, as Mopar and Salmon move down in the middle, Hoodum's going to move back down to the inside in front of his teammate Daniel Rice. And as previously mentioned multiple times, as well as during a previous interview with Brittany Carruthers, working with your teammates here is absolutely important, especially now as you come to 3 laps to go. But as I say that, Hoodum's going to move to the outside in front of Mopar, while Rice is now in the middle in front of Salmon. It's all Salmon to McTrain touch! Patrick Miller, Keisha Urshan, and others go around alongside Caleb Rose as we got a big wreck into turn number 1. Daniel Voiles, Owen Miles, Caleb Rose, all of those. Oh, Richard comes back onto the track, collects Alex Bowen and Trey Smith. And this kind of goes without me saying, but I'll say it anyway. This second caution flag of the day will not only change the course for the ending of this race, but will also take out a lot of drivers, including the 19 of Brendan Carruthers, the 49 of Dylan Matthews. Of course, as previously mentioned, Daniel Voiles, the 24 Keith Saracen, with his teammate Jordan Stout also being involved in that, as that Camry has heavy rear end damage. As off of 4, here's a race back to the line, with Daniel Voiles ahead of his teammate Hoodlum, with Mopar and Joe T trying to battle these two on the inside before Rice will come back to the start-finish line first. Now, with the 43 of Rice being scored in first, while the 88 of Hoodlum is being scored in third, this is definitely going to be an interesting strategy for those two Hernandez cars. As previously mentioned, working for teammates is paramount, especially in these races, and especially coming down to the final 2 laps. As we get ready for our first ever Palm Summer League green-white checkered finish, the 43 and 88 are going to start right behind one another and could definitely cook something up during this upcoming restart. But before that, let's take a look at the instant replay to see what caused our biggest caution here of the day. So similar to our first wreck of the day, this time, going into turn number 1, the field was 4 wide. Watch the 24 of Keisha Urshan, the 91 of McTrain, the 71 of Salmon, and the 41 of Mopar. So Salmon comes down on the 91 of McTrain, which in return sends the 91 down in front of the 24, this time sending those two spinning, alongside the 33 of Patrick Miller. With Salmon coming back on the track in front of Jose Angel and Caleb Rose, with pretty much all of the chaos unfolding from here. And here's another angle of this, as Salmon and McTrain come down on the 24, the 91 spins. Looks like Keyshawn had it saved here, but then into turn number 1, it comes back onto the track in front of the entire field, including Brandon Carruthers, Trey Smith, Dylan Matthews, as well as sending Alex Mullen in the 1 car into the wall. And speaking of which, let's go on board at the 24 of Richardson. So yeah, when Salmon and McTrain touched, Keyshawn had almost absolutely nowhere to go there. It looked like he had it saved when he went down on the apron, but then, here's the part when he came back onto the track and ultimately ended Richardson's chances of winning. Bam! In front of these oncoming cars who had absolutely nowhere to go, with Smith and Mullen getting the worst of that exchange. On board of Caleb Rose. Yeah, it's kind of hard to put a blame on either the 91 or 71, but I guess just ran each other out of room, with Salmon coming up in front of Rose, sending that 59 into the wall and spinning. On board of Alex Mullen. So it looks like he avoided the first part of the wreck pretty well, as he barely switched by Rose. But then here comes Richardson going into 1. Bam! There's the 4-car Smith sending both those cars into the wall. And finally on board of Johnny Hernandez, who actually got damaged during our previous wreck, and because of that, was several car lengths behind the pack. So was able to slip past both Salmon and Rose. But here comes the second part of the wreck. Oh, actually did get hit from Keyshawn Urshan there, but that's not stopping Johnny, as we will finish the rest of this race. Anyways, we're back under caution here in the Coca-Cola Summer Kickoff, as we'll be right back with you guys for our first attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Next up in the Palm Summer League slate is a trip to sunny Southern California at the Auto Club Speedway for the running of the John Deere Father's Day Classic, which will be on this channel on Father's Day night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Meanwhile, here at the Coca-Cola Superspeedway, we're about to go back green after a massive wreck in turn number 1 involving several drivers, with these following drivers out of the race and done for the day. The 19 of Brandon Carruthers, the 24 of Keyshawn Richardson, and the 4 of Trey Smith. Other drivers that also got damaged today include the 71 of Kyle Salmon, the 79 of Jose Angel, the 76 of Voiles, among others. Now, of course, with that said, caution coming out with less than 5 laps to go. This means we're in our first attempt of 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. And in case you're not familiar on how a green-white checkered finish works, it's similar to the previous Golf Summer Series as well as the SWRL. So if a caution comes out after 5 laps to go, the race will be extended. We're going to have 3 different attempts to get to the white flag. And then once the leader takes the white flag, the next flag, regardless if it's the checkered flag or yellow flag, will end the race. And as for your current top 3, first place is Daniel Rice in the 43, followed by Mopar in the 41, and the 88 of Hoodlum in 3rd. In addition, fuel could also potentially be concerned for these potentially final 2 laps, as I'm pretty sure none of these teams expected for this race to go this far, as nobody came down pit road under caution. Now, if I had to keep an eye on 2 drivers coming to this potentially final restart, it will definitely be the teammates of Rice and Hoodlum, as those 2 have worked well all race long and are in a perfect position to win this race. But of course, as this pace truck comes down pit road, and as all the fans here at Coca-Cola are on their feet, anything can happen here in our first attempt at a green-white checkered finish here in the Palm Summer League. And as expected, the Hernandez drivers of Rice and Hoodlum get a great restart on the inside. There's got drivers running out of gas, including the 17 of Dan Mattiello, as well as the 49 Dylan Matthews as he's on pit road. Into turn number 2, a lot of these drivers seem to be laying back, trying to save all the fuel they can to make it to the end of this race, as Rice will move to the outside in front of Mopar, with Hoodlum tagging along as well on the outside. And as they're on board with Hoodlum down the back straightaway, the big question for this 88 team, will he stay behind the 43, or will he go for the win himself? And if it's that second answer, when will we make his move? It looks like it's going to be now. He looks to the inside of the 43, as the Hernandez drivers are going to be side by side for the lead into turn number 3. And to be honest, I don't know if that was the right time or not for Hoodlum to make that move, as off of 4, everyone comes out pit road. Hoodlum, Rice, Mopar, Albert, Wilson, all down pit road, with the only 2 drivers staying out being Jordan Forbes and Caldwell as they take the white flag this time by. Oh my goodness, virtually all the leaders are down pit road here in the final lap, here in the summer kickoff, as both Murray and Matteo are out of gas in the back straightaway. But as that happens, Forbes, Caldwell, and Miles out of all cars are the only 3 lead lap cars still on track. And as you can see on pit road, all these guys are doing gas only, as they all hope and pray that Caldwell and Forbes run out of gas with only a half a lap to go here in the summer kickoff. And I definitely imagine all those hopes and prayers will also be shared by Jordan Caldwell, as that 61 continues to pull away into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Does Forbes have enough fuel to make it? As Caldwell continues to fall back and Forbes continues to pull away. And coming off turn number 4, it's going to be all Jordan Forbes, as he will shock the world and this crowd to the checkered flag. Forbes wins the summer kickoff. Wow, that is unbelievable. A huge congratulations to Jordan Forbes and ST Motorsports. They're our winners here today for the summer kickoff. While the other Jordan Caldwell, comes home with a solid second place. And how about Owen Miles in that destroyed race car? He gets 3rd place in that 25. Unbelievable. It looks like out of all the drivers that came down pit road, Jason Albert would be the highest out of all of them, as he'll finish 4th, while Daniel Rice rounds off the rest of the top 5. You can see also other drivers as well. Ross McTrain will get 6th, Joe T 7th, Mopar 8th, Johnny Hernandez 9th despite getting damaged earlier, while Ryan Wilson rounds off the rest of the top 10. And oh man, what an unbelievable way to kick off the summer, as well as to kick off the Palm Summer League. But before we close our coverage here today, let's take a look at the finishing results inside this top 10, as well as the point standings. So here we go. Jordan Forbes finishes first here today at the Coca-Cola Superspeedway, as this will mark his first ever Random J Series win after racing in both the Golf Summer Series as well as the SWRL. So obviously a huge congratulations to Forbes and his race team. Meanwhile, as for the other Jordan in the Dodge, Jordan Caldwell in the 82 will finish 2nd here today, as he also led the most laps here today of 7 laps. As for 3rd place is none other than Owen Miles, who despite getting heavy damage during a lap number 24 incident, still managed to benefit from all of the leaders coming up pit road, finishing 3rd as the highest Ford here today. And meanwhile, as for the drivers who came down pit road during the final lap, Jason Albert was the highest out of all of Hovland finishing 4th, while Danny Rice in the 43, who of course restarted as the leader, will finish 5th here today. Meanwhile, Ross McTrain will finish 6th in the 91, while Joe T is the highest running Toyota will finish 7th. 8th place is Mopar in the 41 after a relatively solid day. Johnny Hernandez will finish 9th despite getting damaged from a first incident back in lap number 10. And the runoff the rest of the top 10 is the 2022 Summer Series champion of Ryan Wilson. Meanwhile, as for other notable drivers who finished below the top 10, the 2020 Summer Series champion Callum Baker finishes 11th, Patrick Miller, who despite getting damaged earlier in the race, finishes 12th, while Hoodlum, who was a heavy favorite to win this race coming to the final restart, will finish 14th. And now for the point standings after race number 1. Obviously not too much to see here since this is the first race. Forbes is currently with the points leader with 47 points, while Caldwell chose by 3, while Miles chose by 5. Meanwhile, Jason Albert chose by 6, Daniel Rice Jr. chose by 7, Ross McTrain chose by 8, while Joe T is actually tied with Mopar for 7th, but due to Joe T's better finish here in this race, he'll have the advantage over the 41. Meanwhile, Johnny Hernandez in 9th chose by 12, while Ryan Wilson, the reigning GSS champion, chose by 13. But of course, with this only being a 4-race series, every single race, every single lap, and every single point matters, and it'll especially come to fruition for our championship in a couple months. So next up, race number 2, we head west to the Golden State at the Auto Club Speedway for the running of the John Deere Father's Day Classic, which will be on this channel on Father's Day night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, barring any delays. But as always, y'all, thank you guys for watching this race. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And have a happy Memorial Day. And a big, big thank you to all of our soldiers who have served or are currently serving in the U.S. military.